Hello and welcome to 365 Days Towards Racial Change. My name is Tom Nyback. We're at day 180 of our little mini project here, starting to grow, morph, and have a life of its own as we discuss Black issues in America, solutions, problems. We're doing some analysis. Past few days, a lot of aspects, a lot of degrees to being Black, and I know there's a lot of voices out there with their um, with their take on it, their solutions. So this is really just a sliver, not authoritative in any way, about being Black and Black in America, issues uh, with being Black, a white system, and all those things. I only have one small view out of billions of others. And I'm a man, so I can't speak to women's issues. But I think I'm on to something here, mostly because I've noticed, I don't know, pushback and the resistance in the world, in America, towards me as I try to navigate and access the very same resources and privileges of my non-Black contemporaries. Yet they excel faster than me, seem to have more favor in the system, just get along much better. So, um, fortunately, before I committed suicide, already thinking I'm going crazy, I took the time to, I was introduced to some resources. Oh, that put some shape and some terms, helped me with some literacy around the issue. And now I feel like my life is moving along again. I'm recovering uh, from being Black in America, so to speak. Having said that, two major thoughts are important on my mind in this project. First, thoughts for the mind of America, Black minds. Are Black minds still living a slave mentality? Was the conditioning of hundreds of years of an institution, open institution, enough to permanently impact a portion of the American community forever, like a brand, a hot fire brand, especially for Black people, and conversely for white people. You know, did the practice, did the privilege, did the um, favoritism that arose out of the institution on behalf of whites become just as indelibly marked on their brains like a brand? I mean, let's face it, European whites created this system for whites. It's administered by whites. I wonder who's going to come out ahead in that equation every time. And then my second thought is for literacy of Black folks, financial literacy, understanding how money works, where money's going, where it comes from, um, uh, you know, basic, rudimentary ideas, interests, cash flow, principle. Some of that stuff should be part of our vocabulary naturally. I can tell you right now, white children know some of these terms, are already putting together their portfolios, so to speak. You don't want to be like me 4 and 5 decades into your life and saying, I didn't realize I'd lived this long. I would have made some other decisions. Let me now become financially responsible. Man, like a good investment that you can catch right at the beginning, say like Microsoft, your life, if you can catch a hold of some of these things in your early uh, mid-teens, you'd be a millionaire by now, many times over. Well, these things aren't taught in school, and that's on purpose. And we can easily find testimony to this from school teachers and other prominent men and women who are doing financially well, who really complain. And I think they're authentic that this financial literacy, this education, is not being forwarded in the classroom. I mean, think the public classroom is supported, paid for with public tax dollars, yet they're not teaching us the very thing we need to thrive and survive in the world. Now, that's purposeful for, you know, I'm a conspiracy theorist guy. I lean that way. So, yeah, I believe it's purposeful that they obscure and abstract and um, keep those aspects hidden from us. They do it on purpose, so they other powers can be in control. Uh, I get that. As soon as my children start to come along and I get secure and then get things going in that respect, that's going to be the first thing. I got a good friend, and she's a white woman, very good friend of mine, and she told me this story. And this is how I know. Well, all my white friends tell me the story of how they understood money management early on from their parents. But her story is compelling because, it's very simple. She said when she got her first little job, first consistent cash flow, her first payment, her father took her to the bank, and there began her financial education. Yeah, it didn't occur in school, and her father's a school teacher, was a school teacher. Yeah, you don't get it in school, then it should be in the home properly, I believe. You know, see it occurring naturally and always in white folks, but in the black home, or do we see people just spending money, just getting a hold of cash and spending it like I used to? Financial literacy. I'm not going to belabor the point. We got a lot of stuff to get into, but you hear it every day. Some of the stuff you're starting to hear every day is like, okay, well, I can just fast forward to about 15, 20 minutes left for the new information. But you got to hear this. It's got to be continually pounded into the mind over and over and over. It's like a Tibetan monk with a mantra. That's how their connection, and it's consistent. You know, I'm into Tai Chi. Um, I'm not a fighter or anything. I'm just into internal medicine, energies, and things like that. And there's a guy. Well, I don't have to have his name right now, but he shows a form with a Tai Chi sword, and he shows it. They've done this montage of him doing it in different locations, and because of the practice and consistency, he's doing it exactly the same uh, in every location he's at. I don't, you gotta be, you gotta understand some stuff to appreciate that. Or take a musician that you like. I'm a guitar player as well, so I'm attracted to that virtuoso who can really tear up a fretboard. You know, there's a technical ability and skill with that that's got to be consistent. It can't be haphazard. And that comes from repetition. Repetition. You know, I can tie my shoes because of repetition. I don't. I'm not confined to Velcro. I can tie my shoes, and I can do it with my eyes closed because of repetition. You know. So you got to hear financial literacy, mind of America, repetition, repetition. I don't want you to forget that. Today's subject about we're talking about leadership, but aspects of integration and exclusion. You hear consistently. Maybe you might have heard it maybe every week so far. That's an important aspect. We got to be clear about exclusion, failure of integration, and to be clear about it because it's a complicated topic. Repetition is important. Now, on that note, I'm inspired by a man named Dr. Claude Anderson. I've read 3 of his works. Black History Reader, Repetition. I want you to get these books. A Black History Reader or any of his material. Well, he's got a lot of YouTube videos. 101 questions you never thought to ask. And we're still in Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power and Economic Justice, and Dr. Anderson's National Plan to Empower Black America, Powernomics. You can find Dr. Anderson at powernomics.com and the Heritage Institute in Washington, D.C. I'm sorry, scratch that Heritage Institute. I was looking around and there I didn't see him associated with that, so I'm going to be extracting that. But behind this, you hashtag us too. You'll find Black women conversing, posting there, Facebook. There's another site called Blag Enough, BLAGGENUF, kind of like Facebook. If you can't find your flavor, your voice, this is the internet. If you can't find what you're looking for out of all the billions of sites, start your own like I did. And finally, we do take a fictional look at slave life in America. Slave life, those are formative, foundational times that have determined where we're at, why I do videos, why I get odd looks, you know, why racism is always peering at me from the crowd and the community, you know, why I feel some kind of way. It's all from slavery, the way blacks were treated in America. Now, having said that, we took a look at fictional life, Uncle Tom's Cabin, and you know, it stirs up some conversation, some great talking points about slavery, past, present, maybe even future. And it's going to be part of this purpose of these videos is maybe stir a portion. Who knows? Maybe I'll reach that one child, and they'll be like, "Wow, let's." It could be centuries from now. This is the digital age, so this stuff hopefully will be archived and stick around long enough. Just one mind. That's all I need. Somebody to really take it and run with it. We'll see. All right, day 180, Black Labor, White Wealth. Page 176, we're going through our leadership series. Right now, Dr. Anderson is going through some analysis points, you know, problems, assessments, things like that. Very important. Today is he brings up again issues, deficiencies of integration, the need for exclusion. Listen, all other groups, practices, and it's sad, like when blacks talk about or reach for or, you know, let the prevailing interests know that they're going to be exclusive and stuff, all these complaints arise. you know, from the very same people who's they closed their doors to the black community in America. You know, uh, I say we got to get over that. We're the black community so easily shouted down when we talk about we want to be exclusive. I say number one, stop advertising exclusivity. You don't need to advertise, just be. That's what the Asians, Arabs, Hispanics are out there. They're not um, televising their exclusion. They live the exclusion. Black people are the first. This video is detrimental to the message because I'm being public about it. Although this is educational and illustrative, so that's a different thing. But we don't have to be out on the streets being exclusive, saying that we're being exclusive. We don't need to telegraph our intentions to the world. Um, and a second, when it becomes apparent that we're being exclusive, um, and we get some grumblings from whites or from other groups, we need to say, okay, we hear your opinion, just go somewhere. Because I find blacks are so easily shouted down. Oh, somebody said something about black exclusivity. Oh boy, you know, blacks, we put our hat in our hands and bow our heads and walk away, not getting our needs met. We should stop that. Stop telegraphing. Stop allowing ourselves to be shouted down. Those are two main points. Um, if we see the black community really catch fire and start to elevate itself and start to, rise up collectively as a community, as one group, we're gonna be tempted uh, to allow others to come alongside and help and to participate with us, and they're going to ask us to participate with them. I've been invited to this inclusion summit, diversity and inclusion summit. Well, they don't know that my first point is going to be hands off black folks. Um, Understand what you're diversifying, understanding what you're including first before you diversify and include. You just want to summarize and have it rush off into maybe some greater message. LGBTQ, Hispanics at the southern border, those big issues. Well, you don't people don't understand. It comes in and dilutes the power and effectiveness of black people getting it together and rising up. When we associate in that way, it was the big failure that happened um, in the 60s. Dr. King, a lot of other black leaders. We were having a lot of momentum, apparently. I wasn't even born yet. Dr. Anderson illustrates this, articulates it much better than myself. There's a lot of momentum going forward. All of a sudden, we start talking about immigration, people of color, and things like that. Well, when that happened, see, we're not listening to ourselves, because when that happened, those other more acceptable groups, maybe they weren't equal with whites, but immigrants, people of color, oh, they're more acceptable to white society. And you find them moving freedom, getting grants. These people, brothers and sisters coming up from the South with serious issues, they're getting grants and housings and plane rides and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. You know, I'm not going to go into it. Uh, they're fleeing some kind of terror and all that. They're not just coming to the United States on vacation. Something's going on down there. There's some deficiencies, you know, but we see these resources, this outpouring, you know, and us black folks, we can't even get the reparations argument going so we can get it over with and put it behind us, you know. Yet, you see, do you understand what I'm saying? Congress can whip up billions of dollars in a few short weeks uh, for humanitarian aid, rightfully so, good, but you can't, address the economic terrorism exercised against black people. You know, so that's the art. Some of the argument. I got some emotion and some angst coming along with it today. But we're gonna have to resist the temptation to uh, like create a flag with all these symbols of all these groups on it. That's not going to work. That's not going to get black people. See, there's something about white America that's exclusionary to blacks, and it's openly exclusionary. The white system incarcerates us, as a barrier to us, and all this stuff, Uh, Yet it tries to flip the script and reverse some of these things when black people speak out, reach out, and all this stuff. So, um, a big part of success, and this lands definitely within the realm of leadership, is for the leader to say, "Fine, thank you, your concern is noted, but we can't use you right now. We got to identify as ourselves. We've got to, as a black group, start to self-determine for ourselves after that black entity is firmly established in America, is respected and compensated for the past adequately, properly. Then we can talk about uh, inclusion and participation and hanging out and all this stuff. That's the important thing. We need a holiday and all this stuff. So that's the leadership aspect. It's going to take a strong leader to do this. Now, it's not it's not going to happen within politics because politics is not going to um, have any bias or polarized message. That's bordering on white supremacy stuff, some extremism. Although for blacks it wouldn't be, but we're not going to get a political leader to do that. Too many issues going on. And this is why blacks need to just cast all that off. Forget voting, be in the land and start to grow and nurture itself. We had a lot of challenges, slavery, thriving communities were sacked. If any of these communities, Tulsa, um, DC, Rosewood, if those communities had stayed alive and thriving and had not uh, been terrorized by white society, man, who knows what they would look like today. But that kind of freedom, that kind of self-determination was a threat. I think we can get along better now in America. We got to put some of that together Again, land ownership, big part of what it will mean to be successful. Without land ownership, listen, we could be the greatest. I say we could be functioning at a very high level equally in America, but if we don't have land ownership, well, we're still at the mercy of land owners, whoever they may be. Blacks need land ownership. On this point of failure of integration, need for exclusion, that message, we got to stick to that message. Even if this is something, even if we can't articulate it properly or be convincing or persuasive, we got to have some faith around not asking for all this peripheral help and all this stuff, uh, but priming our own pump and drawing from our own well. I think the resources are there. So it's an interesting new product. As you see products inner city and stuff, wrap snacks, and of course it's got a very hip hop culture, black cultured image on it, faces and words and advertisements. That's a kind of that's what I'm talking about. I don't know. I haven't researched the company. Maybe I'll look into it. Hopefully, there's not a whole lot of white influence and control, and that's a good thing. For blacks having a legal business entity growing up, who knows how far that could go. That's important. And on that note, our leadership has to promote its own power and wealth structures. Not selling out. You look at some of these groups. I think about the Hmong. It's on my mind a lot because years just a handful of years ago, you hear little stuff about this immigrant group struggling, and they dress differently, and they have different cultures and things like that. And years later, you hear them on the national news, and they're making headway, making points. Well, they didn't. They're not a community that just goes out and starts to get some momentum and then sell off and sell out to the white establishment. They have some sense of their own community. They understand, their leadership, their elders understood, not to go running after the white um, resources, which would give them immediate gains, um, influence and power and wealth. You know, they want their community. See, that's what America should be about. It's not uh, just gaining stuff and keeping your elbow on the neck of your neighbor, trying to force money out of their pocket so you can have rare steak, asparagus, and potatoes every night and live in a gated community with servants. That's just not, I just don't value that, you know. And so success to me is self-determination, you know. Yeah, I gotta support infrastructure, military. There's some basic obligations, but wholesale exploitation. Get out of my face with that. Our leadership, black leadership, is going to black success. Black leadership must move in that same way. You know, aside from our basic needs as the, participating in the American landscape, this idea of exploitation and overkill on taking your neighbor financially hostage, that's got to go. That's not going. Black folks are not going to see general success with that mindset. That's a very European white mindset. You read Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations. That's how the Europeans function. That's how they get their success. Not so. It's not going to be so for white folks. We're not going for black folks. It's not going to be us becoming some great corporate entity. We're not. I'm not promoting that we become some great corporate enterprise on the earth. What I would say it would be black success is for blacks to determine their own direction in the world. Our leadership must reflect those values first. Maybe we'll get golden spoons a few generations down the road. Additionally, we need to gather our forces, focus, potency, cooperation. My time is out, but maybe I got the point across. A lot of stuff with this integration and exclusion, got to be clear on that. I say start that conversation, start that thinking, even if you can't articulate it. I'm not even doing a good job with it. I don't care, but I just know it's an important factor in the success of the black community in America. Exclusivity over integration. Our schools need to be the best school. Our community needs to be the cleanest, drug-free, crime-free zones. Ours space. We need land ownership. Black leadership has to do that. Get out of politics. Let them vote. Do all that stuff, whatever. I hope I made my point. I think I did. I'm way over. Listen, come back tomorrow. Let's see what kind of trouble we can get into. I'm Thomas Nyback. That's day 180 out of the way of 365 days towards racial change. Have a great day.